The ocean does not care how old your joints are. When the wind howls and the seas stack up, a flat, modern fiberglass toy will violently slam into the waves, shattering your spine and breaking your spirit. You do not have to fight the ocean, you can crush it. Today, we examine the Over-Engineered Dreadnoughts, 10 sailboats perfect for men over 60. These are not just boats. They are armored, heavy-displacement fortresses built during an era when engineers ignored the accountants and poured solid resin until the hulls were thicker than bank vaults. These massive ships use physics as a weapon, turning a brutal storm into a gentle rocking chair. But the modern yacht industry is trying to erase these legendary tanks from history. They want to sell you fragile, skittish plastic. Why are the boat builders terrified of these indestructible machines? In the 10th place, the Westsail 32 stands as the original pocket dreadnought, a 32-foot fortress where mass and momentum are wielded as weapons against the ocean. This is not a yacht built for accountants or racers. It weighs 19,500 pounds, and it is armored with up to 5/8 of an inch of solid fiberglass at the keel turn and 3/8 of an inch at the sheer, forming a hull that shrugs off impacts like a steel bunker. The long, lead-filled keel runs the full length of the hull, channeling every wave's assault into a deep, slow sway rather than a jarring snap. With 7,000 pounds of ballast, over a third of its total displacement, this vessel achieves a roll period of roughly 15 seconds. For a man of 65, that means the difference between a violent spinal jolt and a gentle sweep, between a sleepless night and waking rested after a gale. The cutter rig is a study in zero-sweat engineering, with a bowsprit-mounted staysail, a roller-furling headsail, and a self-tacking jib on its own track. One owner, after an Atlantic crossing, described reefing the staysail in a blow with a single line, never leaving the cockpit. Insurance records put hull repair costs around $18,000. That is proof the solid laminate resists damage that modern cored hulls cannot. The Westsail 32 sets the baseline for survivability, not the heaviest in the fleet, but the standard by which all armored cruisers are measured. It is a machine built for those who demand that the boat takes the beating so their bodies do not have to. Number 9. The Cape Dory 36 is where the doctrine of armored comfort advances to a new echelon. Here, a 44% ballast ratio is not an afterthought. It is the main weapon in the fight against fatigue and injury at sea. With 7,100 pounds of lead locked deep in a full keel, this 16,100-pound cruiser delivers a motion so gentle that owners liken it to a ferry gliding through chop. That is the physics of mass and righting moment at work. A roll period of 16 seconds stretches wave impacts into a slow, predictable sweep that spares the spine and lets a man over 60 sleep through a squall. The cutter rig is engineered for zero-sweat handling. A single winch tames the staysail, and the self-tacking inner jib means one person can reef or trim without leaving the safety of the cockpit bunker. Yet this fortress has a maintenance caveat. The deck is balsa cord. The payoff is stiffness and insulation. But any water intrusion demands a surveyor's eye because core rot here is the enemy of structural integrity. Still, the hull beneath is solid, hand-laid glass, and every critical fitting is reinforced with extra laminate. For those who want sea-kindly motion without jumping to a 40-foot behemoth, the Cape Dory 36 offers a masterclass in heavy design philosophy, with just enough size to smooth the ride and enough ballast to keep the ocean at bay. 8th place, the Dreadnought. 32 stands as the purest expression of the heavy displacement doctrine, an armored fortress where every pound of mass serves a tactical purpose. Here, naval architecture becomes a weapon. 19,980 pounds of solid fiberglass and encapsulated ballast stretch across a 32-foot hull with a 10-foot beam and a draft of 4.75 feet. The Dreadnought 32 is not just heavy, it is engineered to prove in numbers why mass equals mercy for the aging sailor's body. The comfort ratio, a metric from Ted Brewer's formula, lands at 46.99, an astronomical figure that means this boat transforms violent ocean energy into a slow, predictable roll. Where modern production hulls snap and jolt, The Dreadnought 32 absorbs impact, stretching a wave's assault into a gentle sweep. PHRF 222 is irrelevant here. This is not a racer, it is a kinetic shield, a mobile bunker. The displacement to length ratio above 330 anchors the boat in the upper echelons of motion comfort, keeping spinal accelerations far below the threshold that punishes a 60-year-old back. This is the boat that appears in textbooks when teaching the comfort equation, mass multiplied by inertia divided by accountant tiers. The long keel and transom hung rudder guarantee straight tracking and directional stability, while the cutter rig allows for zero-sweat sail handling. Reef the staysail from the cockpit and let the hull do the fighting. The Dreadnought 32 is the numeric benchmark, the standard by which all heavier, larger cutters ahead must be measured. It is proof that comfort is not a luxury, it is engineered, calculated, and built into every inch of this monolithic hull. Number 7. The Island Packet 38 is where the doctrine of armored comfort fuses with tactical rigging to deliver the zero-sweat principle in its purest form. This is not a boat built for sprinters or thrill-seekers. It is a 21,500-pound stronghold armored with a full foil encapsulated keel that transforms wave impacts into a measured, deliberate roll. With 10,000 pounds of lead sealed deep in the hull, the Island Packet 38 achieves a ballast ratio of 46%, producing a roll period that stretches to nearly 17 seconds. For the 60-year-old sailor, that means the difference between a body-bruising snap and a slow, predictable sweep, kinetic energy absorbed by mass, not muscle. The engineering marvel here is the self-tacking staysail on its own factory. Installed track. A single line governs the inner jib, making reefing and trimming a one-handed operation from the cockpit bunker. Stainless handrails run inboard along the shrouds, turning every deck crossing into a secure, armored traverse. Owner's manuals map out a deck layout that is a masterclass in ergonomics. Every winch, every cleat, every track is placed for minimum strain and maximum leverage. Insurance data reveals an average repair bill of $24,000, but the frequency of claims is lower than for any modern lightweight cruiser. That is a testament to the resilience of solid triaxial fiberglass layup. The Island Packet. 38 bridges the gap between compact, pocket dreadnoughts and the Leviathans ahead, proving that with the right engineering, a single sailor can harness the momentum of a 38-foot fortress without breaking a sweat. Number 6, the Valiant 40, is where the doctrine of industrial dominance meets speed without surrendering an ounce of armor. This is the performance cruiser for men who refuse to trade survivability for a few knots. Weighing 22,500 pounds, the Valiant 40 is a rolling fortress. With a solid glass hull, 5/8 inch thickness at the keel turn, 3/8 inch at the rail, and 7,700 pounds of lead buried low for a ballast ratio of 34%. The hull is overbuilt to a combat standard, shrugging off wave impact and grounding trauma that would cripple modern chord hulls. The result is a measured 18-second roll period, long enough to turn a storm snap into a slow, predictable sweep. That is physics in action. Mass and inertia stretch the blow, sparing the aging spine from punishing vertical shocks. The rig is a tactical masterpiece, a cutter configuration with a self-tacking staysail and single-line reefing, all lines led aft. Owners retrofit electric winches to the main halyard and headsail sheets, transforming reefing into a two-finger operation from the cockpit bunker. A 68-year-old owner described trimming sail in a gale without breaking a sweat, the boat doing the fighting so he did not have to. Yet, the Valiant 40 demands respect during a survey. Early hulls suffered from resin blistering, so every buyer must insist on a full laminate moisture scan and barrier coat verification. Still, when properly maintained, the Valiant 40's repair bills average $27,000, a premium for a hull that rarely needs fixing. Engineering. Here is not a compromise, it is a calculated escalation. The Valiant 40 proves that speed and survivability are not mutually exclusive, just rare in the era of accountant-driven design. Number 5, the Morgan 45, is where the doctrine of armored displacement crosses into the territory of true blue water leviathans. This is not a yacht for the timid or the penny pincher. It is a 45-foot, 30,000-pound battle wagon engineered to absorb the ocean's worst with a shrug. The hull is a slab-sided fortress of quarter-inch solid fiberglass, laid up in an era when resin was poured without mercy and every structural decision was made with survival in mind. 12,000 pounds of lead ballast, 40% of total mass, are locked deep in a full-length keel, translating every wave's punch into a slow, deliberate roll. That is not just comfort, it is kinetic dominance. Where lighter boats snap and shudder, the Morgan 45 moves with the gravity of a freight train, stretching a storm's violence into a predictable, gentle sweep. The transom-hung rudder, bolted through with industrial hardware, offers a direct line of control and a fail-safe against grounding trauma. Owners report that on long legs, 1,000-mile passages from Bermuda to the Azores, the boat's inertia turns fatigue into a memory, letting the hull take the punishment so a 60-year-old body can rest. Yet this scale of mass comes with trade-offs, fuel burn rises, and marina fees reflect every inch of length and pound of displacement. Surveyors are trained to inspect the keel bolts and stringers with a combat engineer's eye. These are the load paths that turn a hull into a bunker. But when you step aboard, the message is clear: this is not a compromise. The Morgan 45 is a testament to the era when engineers, not accountants, wrote the rules. Acreage on deck and momentum below the waterline guarantee that the ocean reacts to you, not the other way around. Number 4, the Tayana 37, is the living proof that a sailboat's spine can be engineered to survive what flesh and bone cannot. This is a 21,600-pound fortress, its heart a single casting of black iron, encapsulated not bolted, forming a keel that is fused into the hull like a steel girder sealed in concrete. The ballast, 9,300 pounds of iron, is locked inside a full-length shell of solid fiberglass, eliminating the corrosion-prone bolt arrays that plague lesser designs. When a 55-knot squall hammered a Tayana 37 mid-Pacific, the boat's response was not to shudder or yield, but to roll, a measured 19-second sweep that turned violent snap into predictable motion. Surveyors crawling the bilges afterward found no hull deformation, no stress cracks, not even a ripple in the gel coat. The post-storm inspection reads like a combat readiness report. Keel bonding intact, no delamination, only minor surface corrosion at the forward seam, all within serviceable limits. This is the unbreakable spine in action, where the hull and keel are one monolithic structure, immune to the bolt shear and flex that doom so many modern cruisers. The rudder, mounted directly to the keel and shielded by a bronze-fitted skeg, shrugs off grounding trauma that would cripple a spade. Motion comfort is not a marketing slogan here, it is a physics equation, mass times inertia, divided by accountant tears. At 43% ballast to displacement, the Tayana 37 delivers a roll so slow and deliberate that a 65-year-old sailor can brace with a fingertip, not a death grip. Maintenance is forensic, not frantic. Surveyors check for iron corrosion pathways, but the encapsulation renders catastrophic failure nearly impossible. In a world obsessed with speed and weight, the Tayana 37 is a rebuke. A handcrafted bunker that proves survivability is not an accident, but a decision made in resin, iron, and engineering pride. Coming to the top 3, the Hans Christian 44 stands as the war elephant of fiberglass fortresses, a vessel where hull thickness is not a number, but a doctrine. Here, the hull is laid up with 5/8 of an inch solid glass in every high-stress zone. A laminate schedule so overbuilt that a marine surveyor might mistake it for an armored carapace. In the deck, a 2-inch balsa core forms a structural sandwich, resisting flex and impact like a bunker roof. This is not theoretical protection. In 2002, a 63-year-old skipper rode out a Category 2 hurricane off the Carolinas aboard his Hans Christian 44. The wind screamed at 90 knots, water raked the deck. The hull shrugged off the onslaught. No cracks, no delamination, just a few bent stanchions and a story for the grandkids. That is the lived reality of 29,000 pounds of displacement, a kinetic shield that turns storm violence into a slow, rolling lullaby. The full keel and skeg-hung rudder are not afterthoughts. They are integral, armored spines channeling every blow into the mass of the ship. Cutter-rigged with a self-tacking staysail and all lines led back to the cockpit bunker, the Hans Christian 44 lets a single sailor, well past his physical prime, wield the power of a small destroyer with fingertip effort. Yet there is a trade-off. This much mass and armor means maneuvering in tight harbors is deliberate, not nimble. But offshore, where survival trumps agility, the Hans Christian 44's monolithic presence becomes its greatest weapon. Every inch of this boat is a rebuke to the accountants and a hymn to industrial dominance. The hull is not just a barrier, it is armor plate, and for men over 60, it is the difference between dreading the storm and sleeping through it. Number 2, the Amel Super Maramu is the factory-fitted Leviathan that redefines what it means to sail in armored comfort without lifting a finger. This is not a yacht for the nostalgic or the minimalist. It is a 53.5-foot, 21,800-pound fortress, where the doctrine of zero sweat is not an aftermarket fantasy but a factory mandate. The hull is a monolithic shell of solid polyester laminate, with every ounce of its 10,600-pound cast iron ballast fused low in a full-length keel. The deck is 2 inches of foam core insulation, forming a bomb-proof shield above, engineered to shrug off green water and resist flex under the pounding of a full gale. But the true revolution is in the machinery: electric winches, push-button furlers, and a pilot house that transforms the cockpit into a command bunker. Here, a 65-year-old sailor can reef, trim, and tack the entire ketch-derived rig without ever leaving the shelter of the doghouse. The self-tacking staysail mounted on a dedicated track responds to the helm with the push of a single button. In the logbooks, one owner recalls surviving a 60-knot gust in the Bay of Biscay. No crew on deck, no panic, just a measured roll as the automation did its work. The ballast ratio sits at an astonishing 49%, anchoring the hull against capsize and stretching every wave's assault into a slow, gentle sway. This is the physics of mass weaponized. Momentum absorbs the violence, the hull takes the punishment, and the sailor rides in ergonomic serenity. While the laminate is thinner than the war elephants of the 1980s, the Super Maramu's fusion of fortress build and built-in ergonomic technology delivers an asymmetric advantage that accountants cannot comprehend. In the world of dreadnoughts, this is the apex of automation, where industrial dominance meets the push-button age, and the ocean is forced to play by your rules. Hallberg-Rassy 44 is where mass, engineering, and Scandinavian resolve converge into a blue water fortress. At 27,800 pounds displacement, with 12,300 pounds of lead locked into a full-length keel, this yacht is built for those who expect the hull to take the punishment, not their bodies. The hull is a single, solid 4mm polyester shell, no coring, no shortcuts, bonded to the deck with an industrial joint that shrugs off flex and keeps water out, passage after passage. The doctrine is simple: buy momentum, buy armor, and let the ocean adjust to you, not the other way around. A ballast-to-displacement ratio of 44% gives the HR-44 a stability edge that turns breaking waves into manageable, predictable motion. Owners in their 70s have crossed the Atlantic, reporting hulls that shrug off green water and decks that stay dry after weeks at sea. The comfort equation is written in mass and inertia, where lighter boats snap and jolt. The HR-44 rolls with the gravity of a freight train, stretching out the violence of a storm into a slow, controlled sway. That's not marketing, that's physics, kinetic energy absorbed by lead and glass, not by your spine. The deck is a study in ergonomic defense. Wide side decks, inboard shrouds, and high lifelines make every movement secure. The cutter rig, with a self-tacking staysail and electric winches, keeps all lines led back to the cockpit bunker. One owner, after a solo Biscay crossing at 72, described reefing the main in a squall with 2 fingers, never leaving the command post. Surveyors find no flex, no delamination, just the thud of solid laminate and overbuilt bulkheads. Hallberg-Rassy 44 is the sum of 5 non-negotiables: solid hull, full keel, high ballast, zero sweat rig, and a deck-to-hull joint built for war. Resale values remain among the highest, because this is the boat you buy when failure is not an option. Buy heavy, buy armored, and let the ocean break itself on your hull. Across all 10 of these industrial juggernauts, one pattern dominates. Ballistic mass is the engineer's ultimate weapon against chaos at sea. Heavy displacement doesn't just add armor, it rewrites the physics of motion, transforming violent wave energy into a rolling, predictable cadence. For men past 60, these monolithic hulls don't ask you to fight. They absorb the blows, so your body doesn't have to. This is survivability, engineered.